In today's video, I'm going to show you a glaive build that will have you saying winter's coming as you annihilate bosses, have infinite health, and overshield. This build allowed me to burn through multiple lost sectors full of more powerful enemies, and the best thing is this build doesn't require a whole lot to be successful. So I'm going to show you the aspects, fragments, mods, and exotics you'll need to be a master of winter in PvE. I'll also include timestamps for you to jump around and a dim link in the description. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to drop a like to support the channel. With that out the way, let's get into the video. Diving into our aspects and fragments, and we're going to be running the Void Walker Warlock subclass for this build. And so the thing you're going to definitely want to run is a healing rift that's going to allow you to basically help you stay alive, especially when we're fighting in close quarters, especially using a glaive build. Using burst glide, not really that important. Again, pocket singularity, great, but we're not going to be using this basically at all since we're going to have our glaive out. And then vortex grenade. This is going to be important because there's going to be another way to help us proc devour, which we'll talk about in a second when we get to the aspects. As for our aspects, the next one we want to use is Child of the Old Gods. This is going to allow us to help get our energy back to ensure that we always have our grenade up, or basically some way to help us proc devour. This is also just going to help add an additional debuff to the enemy that we're just meleeing to death with our glaive. So it just ensures that via either one of our fragments or via Child of the Old Gods, that there's always kind of being a weakening effect being applied to the enemies we're fighting. Next, we have Feed the Void. Defeat a target with a Void ability to activate Devour. This is going to be huge because, again, as we get kills, this is going to give us full health, and basically what makes a huge part of this build so important and helps us basically just be impossible to kill. So this is a non-negotiable here. You definitely don't want to be using Chaos Accelerant. We definitely want to be using Feed the Void. So at each kill, you're getting back to full health and just really amps up our survivability and basically makes us unkillable. For the fragments, we're going to be using Echo of Leeching. So this is another way to really amp up our survivability just in case we don't get Devour proc for whatever reason. Melee final blows start health regeneration for you and nearby allies. Again, this is also works while using the glaive, which is nice. So as we're getting those melee final blows, we're also getting chunks of health back on top of getting Devour, which is going to give us full health. And so all these kind of pair together to make sure there's always some kind of health regen going on, either via just getting our full health or getting just basic regen coming back via Echo of Leeching. Next, we have Echo of Remnants. Lingering effect of your grenades is longer. This is nice just to make sure that our Vortex grenade has a little bit longer tick damage, so that way we can get that kill to hopefully trigger Devour. Next, we have Echo of Undermining. Your Void grenade weakens targets. This is great because this is going to give us a 15% damage debuff or debuff to the targets, which is going to allow us to just do more damage with our glaive overall, which is super nice. It does give us minus 20 discipline, but we're going to be overcome a lot of that with our mods. And then the newest fragment here, Echo of Vigilance. Defeating a target while your shields are depleted grants you a temporary void overshield. You will notice that in the footage there are times where I get kind of weak, just because you're taking so much damage being up close and personal with enemies. And so having Echo of Vigilance, so in those times when you do get that kill and either trigger the health regen, trigger Devour, trigger both maybe, then you're also gonna get an overshield, just making us even stronger, even tankier as we're just running around with this glaive build and just absolutely decimating enemies. For our mods, the first thing you're going to see we're running on our helmet piece is Stasis Siphon. Rapid stasis weapon final blows create an orb of power. This does not work for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it definitely is a bummer. So maybe a glitch right now, but I don't know if it's because it's a heavy weapon in terms of our stasis glaive, but this does not work. So hopefully with time, this build will actually become even more potent. Jumping into our exotic, we're using Winter's Guile, and this is where you get Warlord's Sigil, so melee kills increase melee damage. This stacks up to ×5, and then it gives you roughly 275% damage increase. I see different numbers kind of everywhere, so that's the number it's going to go in with. But overall, what you need to know about this is essentially it's just going to do a ton of damage as you're meleeing people with your glaive. And then on with that, we have double grenade kickstart. So as we cast or we throw our grenade to get Devour, this is going to automatically give us a nice bump to our grenade energy. And then if we do happen to create any orbs of power, we will have Font of Focus, which will also further help our grenade regen. Getting into our chest piece, running Charged Up, so increase the maximum number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1. Again, not going to be super critical until these stasis siphons get working with Winter's Bite or Winterbite, and then melee damage resistance. So again, reduce incoming damage from commands that are at point blank range. And you can probably run double of these until the stasis siphon for the glaive gets adjusted or fixed. But again, running this is going to be super helpful in terms of just making us that much harder to kill. And again, we got the legs. Stasis weapon surge, again, not going to be super relevant yet until we can get that stasis siphon working. But once we do, this will give you a 17% damage increase on top of everything we already have. And then I'm running innervation, reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. Lastly, for our class ability, running double bomber. This is going to give us just increase or further reduce our grenade cooldown when we use our rift to trigger Child of the Old Gods and have that kind of debuff on our enemy as we're just hammering them with the glaive. And time dilation again, so once we get those charged orbs of power working, basically is going to make it that much longer before that armor charge decays, giving us that font of focus boost for even longer and stasis weapon surge for even longer once that starts working the way it should. And the last thing I'll mention, of course, is just as far as stats, just making sure you're running 100 resilience, probably the most important thing here. Obviously, you can get your discipline higher and recovery higher, all that will be helpful, but you want that 30% damage reduction because again, you're gonna be in close quarters with this glaive build, so you want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to make ourselves as hard to kill as possible. Getting into the rest of the loadout or the exotic of choice here, it's gonna be Winterbite. And with this glaive, you get super cooled accelerator, optimized for extended range, so increased range. As you can see, decreased reload speed, decreases handling, all good. But the thing here is weighted edge. This weapon's melee attacks still increase damage and slow targets when loaded with ammo. This is great because this makes this glaive so hard hitting on top of all the other damage buffs, and on top of Winter's Guile, you're gonna have just insane melee damage. On top of the fact that as you're hitting enemies, if it's an enemy that takes additional damage or can take a lot of damage, they're gonna be slowed and then they freeze after being slowed multiple times, which just adds to the overall potency of this build and the overall lethality. And so how you kind of loop this all together is you want to do something to proc devour. Once you proc devour, then that's where you basically just kind of go ham with Winterbite. And as you're kind of beating everything up, destroying everything with the Winterbite, getting constant health regen, getting overshield ability regen, if you're soloing a boss, that's where you can drop a rift, and then your Child of the Old God will leech onto them as you're hitting them, further weakening them. Or if you don't have that, you also have a weakening grenade as well. So you always want to be weakening your enemies as you're running around beating things up with your Winter's Bite. And again, if you're gonna fight that boss, you want to try to build up that stack of Warlord Sigil ×5 as much as possible. So that way, as you run up to do that boss and you have 4 seconds, so you kind of want to be timely with it, you can just absolutely melt those yellow bars with those stacks of Warlord Sigil from Winter's Guile and the increased melee damage from Winter's Bite. And you're most likely generating orbs of power during this, then giving you that 17% damage buff from your surge mods. Just really creating a nice melee loop, super easy to use. Main thing here is just unlocking Winterbite. But overall, I have absolutely been loving this build as I've been running around Neomuna and enjoying Lightfall. I definitely recommend trying this build out and just feeling absolutely unstoppable with this new exotic glaive. It is so fun, it looks so sick, and it's just massive when you see it in third person on your character's back. But absolutely beast in PvE. But let me know in the comments below, what would you add to make this build better? Or if you're really enjoying this build, again, make sure you drop a like on the video, and hope you guys are enjoying Lightfall.